Oh, good morning, everybody that's joining. I'm going to go grab my cup of coffee. This is what I'm going to be working on today. They are fish, and they are little trinket bags. They're maybe about the size of your hand, depending on what size yarn you use. I do have a picture at the end of the pattern here that it shows, depending on what size yarn you use, the bags will be bigger or smaller. But yeah, that's what we're going to work on today. And I will be right back. Grab my coffee. If I don't have something to drink, I will start to lose my voice. Even this early. But the trinket bags are a sort of a knockoff or modification for my catch of the day drawstring bags, which if you guys follow me, I'm sure you've seen a lot of them. I make them as larger crossbody bags. And this one is more just like a little trinket dice bag. And I'll show you what I was working on this weekend. I can sit for a while. How's everybody this morning? Monday morning. Thank you very much for all the likes. I know that's going to be hot. I know you can hear me slurping because my mic is on. For those of you that joined me last week, we worked on granny square bags. I have one done, hanging up there. You can barely see it. But the other one that I'm going to show you that I've worked on this weekend, I still have to finish the straps around the handles. Well, that's what I wanted to do today. I made with this sparkly yarn. It is sparkly. I don't know if you can tell, but so I made one with sparkles. So that's what I did last week. And I know what I wanted to show you today. I was having a hard time with the handles, doing the decorative stitching on the handles. And I did figure out, of course, once I turned my camera off, took a nap, and got my head together, how I did the decorative stitching on the handles. So if you want to bear with me for a minute, I have a better color yarn today. And I'll do a few rows of single crochet, and I'll show you how I did those stitches. And then I will jump into making the trinket bags. This is the color I was going to use for the trinket bags. Good morning, everybody. So right now I'm just going to do like maybe a chain 10 or 11. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go up one side, down the other side. Good morning. So glad to see you guys here all this morning. I'm going to do a couple rows of single crochet here just to show you, because I know last week I was struggling with the decorative straps on the handles for my granny square bags because I couldn't remember exactly how I did it. Which tends to be an ongoing problem for me because I do a lot of things freehand, and a lot of my notes, basically look like notes. Sometimes I can read them. You need my help. What did you need my help with? Tell me what you need your help with. I'm making a blanket using the velvet yarn. Okay. And what did you need help with? Good morning. Did you need help with a particular stitch with the blanket yarn? Or you weren't sure what stitch to do with the blanket yarn? But the string is there. But the string is there? Like, how do I fix the hole? Honestly, the easy way to do something like that, I wish I could see it, but the easiest way to do something like that would be to cut a length of your yarn. This is how I would do it, depending on how big the hole is. So if you're telling me there was like no velvet on it, it was just the string part of it, I think that's what you're trying to tell me. If not, even so, if you got like a space where you missed stitches or whatever. Oh yes, there was no velvet, just the string there. What you can do is when you're done with it, you can actually just cut yourself a length of the velvet yarn, and you can kind of weave in the ends so that it kind of looks like it's there. Or if you're not too far, I have some velvet yarn. Let me grab some and I'll show you. If you're not too far in your project and you don't mind cutting it off and frogging to that point, I can show you how I tie my ends together. Let me grab that velvet yarn that I have. Okay, so I have a skein of this. This. Is this what you're talking about? Sorry about that. Okay, so you don't even want to see the other ball. It's not even recognizable as new yarn, I don't think. Okay, so this is... Blah. I've been meaning to try this yarn out myself, actually. Let's see here. It's got to be in this... somewhere in this... Here it is. Okay. So, wow. So, there's like no velvet on it. It's just the string part. So, you can do one of two things. You can... if you're too far along in the blanket and you kept going and you don't want to frog it, the Michael version, okay, you can just cut yourself a length and thread it on your needle, and then just take it and I'll use this as this is an example. You can weave it through. What stitch are you using, by the way? So you could use it, you could weave it through And you can actually just take it and just kind of go back and forth over top of that stitch. Kind of following the line of the stitch, half double crochet. Okay, so you could do one of two things. You could either just weave in your ends and just kind of go up and down and back and forth and around, or where you've, take this out of here. I see what you mean. So you have pieces that are like this. You can either weave in an extra piece to cover where it is, or you can take your piece, and I'll demonstrate on this piece. It's just like tips and just simple things that you can do. So you can take it and you can, from the back, you can weave in a section and leave yourself a tail that you can knot and then hide, because you can always hide the knots. So leave yourself a section, and then what you can do is the stitch beside it, pull that extra up, and you can do like your chain 2. You're going to want to work like backwards. So if you've got your hole, you want to attach your yarn to the right side of it so that you're working right to left through that hole. So if you're working half double crochet, you would do your you can do your couple of half double crochets where the hole is, kind of around the stitches. I could have cut a bigger piece. And if it's only 1 or 2 stitches, that's perfect. So then what you want to do is you want to pull the tail out. So you would then pull the tail out. And yeah, I haven't used this velvet yarn yet. I would have just used but I have like fixed things like this. So then what you would do is you would pull the tail out. So you started here, this is your hole, you started here, you did your couple of half double crochets to fill in the hole. And then what you can do is you can take the tail and you can kind of go in the top stitch and through the stitch that you made, in the top stitch and through the stitch that you made. You kind of weave it to like sew the rows together, and then just pull that tail back down through the end and weave it back and just knot it off. And then you would fill in the gap for your hole. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's how that's how I would repair things too. But sometimes when I repair things, like I repaired a tablecloth, repairing things is a pain. You're welcome. Repairing things is a pain. What I had to repair was a tablecloth. A friend of ours, her husband was cutting wrapping table on her grandmother's antique crocheted tablecloth. You're very welcome. And he cut through the tablecloth. She was devastated and she asked me if I could fix it. So I said okay. And in that case, to make it look like the lace, I had to not only crochet the pieces, but I had to have a long enough piece so that as I crocheted them, I could weave them in the top so it looked like the stitch was actually still attached. And oh my god. I mean, I didn't mind, but you need like a magnifying glass and it is kind of a pain. But you can repair crochet. You just have to mimic the stitches and how they go through, and I should do a tutorial on that one day. That would be another 2 hours to do. But let me get this out of here. And then, boy, this is like worse than the blanket yarn to work with. I mean, it's pretty. Where am I at? Oh my god, okay. Am I close? just took the whole damn thing apart backwards. Would have been so much easier if I did it the other way. Okay. If that helped, I'm very glad if that helped. This is what I'm going to do with this. Oh, look, came right out with the scissors. Okay, so there's my hook. So I was going to show you how I did the decorative stitching on the strapping, since I kind of spaced on that last week. It's a pain. You can't have your tension too tight. Yeah, I would imagine. The blanket yarn, I found I can have my tension tight, because I do tend to, there goes my ball of yarn. I tend to crochet things very tight. So I tend to go up a hook size because I know I'm going to make them very tight. If the size is important. If you frog it and start over with the yarn, it probably frays and comes apart. Because that's what that just did there for me. Okay, so I'm just making a basic swatch so I can show you how I put the decorative stitches on that handle. So the handle, when we made the handle for the granny bags, when I did it on Friday and really couldn't get myself together, I just could not for the life of me, and I was using black yarn and I was trying to explain everything and it was a little bit difficult. But okay, so I have what would basically be my 2 rows here for my handle. Okay, so when I work the handle, I work a chain, and then I work 2 rows on this side of the chain, 2 rows on that side of the chain. If you go to YouTube, I have that tutorial there. So it gives me the chain where I worked it was worked in the yellow, and then I did 2 rows on this side, 2 rows to do this side of the strap, and then 2 rows to do this side of the strap. And then I put the decorative stitching on it. The decorative stitching, I use a darker green. It's going to be one of those days. The decorative stitching is really easy. For some reason, my brain just wasn't working. But to do the decorative stitching, when you work it, you can kind of see those little X's in between. You can see this much better than with the black yarn. You're actually going to work over those from side to side over this entire middle section. So the first row that you crocheted up one side, the first row that you crocheted up the other side, and you're going to crochet right over top of that. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your yarn. I'm just going to go over this quick because I did this on Friday. And you're going to insert your hook, and you're going to pull up the yarn from the back so it gives you a loop on the front. Gives you a loop on the front. And then to make it look like that, you're going to go into one side of the single crochet, and you're just going to pull up a slip stitch. So your working yarn's on the back. Your stitches are on the front. So after you've done it in that side, you're going to go directly sideways and go through the next stitch. And it'll pull a little bit better. That first stitch kind of pulls. And then you're going to go, if you can see that. And then you're going to take your hook with your loop, and you're going to go into the next single crochet on this row right above where you did it. And then you're going to grab your loop from the back and pull it up as a slip stitch. And then instead of going up to the next slip stitch, you're going to go directly to the side of it again. So you're going to go directly to the side of it again, and you're going to pull another one up. You can see that. So you're going to keep working those slip stitches like that. So you're going to go up one and then directly to the side of it. Up one, directly to the side of it. Up one, directly to the side of it. And that's what creates that zigzag. So if I go up to the next slip stitch, or up to the next, you can see where my single crochets are. So I'm going to go up to the next single crochet, and I'm going to pull up my slip stitch. And then I'm going to go directly to the next single crochet that's on this side, which would be right across from it, and pull it up. So that's what starts giving you that zigzag. Then you're going to go up to the next one on this side and pull it up. And then you're going to go directly across from it into that slip stitch and pull it up. My camera's not liking me moving today. It's taking a hard time to focus. So if you keep going up one and straight across, up one and straight across, up one and straight across, and you work over those 2 rows of that single crochet that are in the center, that's what gives you this look right here. And if you don't want to line your handles, I line my handles. If you're worried about the back of it, if you do it exactly like that, you can see where I went up one, just kind of goes back and forth. The back of your handles is still going to have like a nice rhythmic stitch there if you keep your stitches going the way, just exactly that way. And if you miss a couple, you miss a couple. I mean, it's handmade. It's supposed to be unique. You're supposed to leave that little mistake in there somewhere so your soul can escape. Okay, so let me get rid of this stuff. I'll have to, I don't know. There are some people that love this stuff and love working with it. Whoops, sorry. I don't particularly. I didn't mind doing the plushies that we did with the blanket yarn. I didn't mind the blanket yarn, but that seems like it's really, really finicky. Like you said, like it's just going to fray and come apart. Sorry, you have to hear me swallow that. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to put that aside and grab my clipboard. And if any of you have watched any of my TikTok videos, I'm sure you have seen my fish bags that are crossbody bags. Sorry, every time I walk past it, I bump it. My fish bags that are crossbody bags. So they actually look like a fish. I would have to dig one out. It's buried in bins right now, but I might have the pattern here on my clipboard. Let me see. No, those are all my puppets. I know I have the pattern here somewhere. You know, I'm trying real hard to be more organized the more I do this. Thank you very much. But it seems like the more I do it, the less organized I'm getting. I'm trying to think, because I know I just had that pattern printed out because I just used it. Anyway, if you were to Google Catch of the Day Drawstring Bag, it would pop up that. Put it in here somewhere? Oh, I did. Did I? No, I didn't. Everything's everywhere. Alright, I'm not going to keep looking for that because I'll drive you guys all crazy. Good morning, everybody that's joining. Today, I'm going to work on like a mini version of the drawstring crossbody bag that looks like a fish. And I picked this yarn because it's light enough that you can see it. I wore my dark colored shirt today so you can see beyond it. So I was ahead of the game there. This is just worsted weight yarn. And it's So we're working on, it is a trinket bag or a dice bag. It is shaped like a fish. I will line it because a lot of it's mesh. It works up very quick, and you can see I've done it in different colors with different weights of yarn. And depending on the weight of the yarn that you use, thank you. Depending on the weight of the yarn you use is going to give you a bigger or smaller bag because it's all basically the same. I'm just going to use the worsted weight yarn. I do have this pattern, I think, on Ravelry. But I'm going to go through the whole pattern here, so if you just want to watch this, when I'm done, I will upload all this to YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube channel, it's Nifty Knots Talk, T-O-K. Nifty Knots is one word with a Z, and you can find my playlist there. And I upload all these lives that I do after the fact. So usually, depending on how long I talk and how long I sit here, sometimes it takes a couple of hours to upload the videos. It's really kind of a pain, but my equipment's rather antiquated to begin with. I use my phone for mostly everything, so my computer's a little bit old. So to do this one, I'm going to first start with the tail fins. So the tail fins are a chain 6, 5, 6, and then the second chain, I'm going to single crochet 5 at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again, this pattern, everything is good morning, hi, and then I'm going to chain 3, 2, 3. Everything is crocheted together. I don't sew my pieces. I hate to sew my pieces together. Single crochet, skipping the last single crochet. So I'm going to go down 4. So this is basically like working a leaf. So if you were to work like some Irish crochet, some of the leaves are like this, and I'll show you a picture, a better picture. My printer was running out of ink by the time. So the 2 tail fins are basically like 2 leaves, and then I join them together and crochet right from that. 4, I'm going to skip the last stitch, chain 1 and turn. I'll cut my tail off so that you don't have to, one less thing you have to try to follow me with. Chain 1 and turn. I'm going to single crochet in these 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the top. Oh, that was chain 3 at the top. Oh well. So I'm going to single crochet, chain 3, single crochet in the top. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. I'm going to skip the last stitch and turn. So it starts to look, because you're skipping the last stitch and turning. So then I'm going to crochet up to the top again. Which will then be 5 stitches because we added the one for the top, and in the chain loop at the top I'm going to single crochet, chain 3 and single crochet, which is how you would do like a basic leaf. And then I'm going to crochet down at the bottom, skipping the last stitch, to give you that leaf effect. I do believe I go through one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So I'm going to chain one and turn, and then I'm just going to go back up to the top again. I started that out a little bit funky, so it's the second one will look better, I promise. But it's a fish, so. This is the tails. This is nothing like what the tails that I do on my other one. The tails that I do on my other one is actually worked in a round. Okay, so that looks right. So I've got my, and you can see where I've, I'm just going to cut this and pull it through. So you can see it's my chain 2 pull it through a knot method. If you chain 2 at the end of your stitch and pull it through a knot, it will actually, my camera won't focus on this joint. There it is. If you chain 2 at the end of your row and then just pull it down snug and tight, it actually creates a knot. So this would be the first fin. And as you can see, we started with our chain, and all you did was skip the last stitch, work to the center, skip the last stitch, work to the center, and go back and skip the last stitch and work to the around. And that is fin number 1. Let me do fin number 2. I'll put this down so you can see what I'm working on. Bounce, 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 bounce. I have pink hair. Needs dyed again. It's getting to be summertime. My hair usually is a lot pinker than this, but in the wintertime I don't go anywhere. I don't see anybody, and I have no reason to really go to school anymore because my daughter's a senior and almost done. And that's the last of them. So until my mother starts coming up to camp and all the campers start showing up, just all the gray. I can't wait to dye it pink. I'm going to dye it pink for Easter. Alright, so let me go back to the beginning here and see if I can do this right. Chain 6, beginning in the second chain, single crochet 5 up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the tail fins. Okay, and even though I've already crocheted 5 up and I'm in the last stitch, I'm still going to chain 3 at the top. 1, 2, 3. So that's, and then if I chain one more in here to start working back down, it actually gives me 5 chains in that top. So that's 1, 2, 3. I'll turn it around and show you. 4, and I'm going to skip the last stitch, so it starts making our leaf looking. Cut my tail off because I just over top of it. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to single crochet back to the top. 2, 3, 4, and at the very, this would be the top, I would do my single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet, and then chain my, or single crochet my 4 down. 2, 3, 4, one more. So it starts looking like this. I'm going to chain and I'm going to turn. I'm going to go up to the center again. Should have put that in a bowl. 3, 4, 5. I do actually have a yarn bowl. Single crochet, chain 3, single crochet in the top again, and then I'm going to work down and skip the last stitch. Skipping the last stitch. Oops. Cut that tail off there a little bit. I do actually have a yarn bowl after I had my surgery, and oh, thank you for all the joins. Thank you for following me. After I had my surgery in January, my sister sent me a care package that was, and one more time, I'm going to go around and then skip the last stitch. Sent me a care package that included a yarn bowl, which is currently sitting on my kitchen table holding like my sewing machine supplies, because I don't usually use a yarn bowl. I usually use just my center pole, but this is a good scrap buster pattern, so I do have a ball. I guess I could actually use that. So again, I'm going to go down to the very end, and I'm going to skip the last stitch, and then I'm going to chain 2, just how I prefer to knot things, especially when I'm going to weave them in and you're not going to see it anyway. So I'm going to chain 2, cut it, pull it out, and you see your chain 2 there. If you just take that chain 2, you can pull it down, and you can actually, if you grab it, it will pull down to a really tight knot. So that's how I like to. So now I have 2 fins for the bottom of my fish. Let me grab my ball of yarn here. It's dusty. Let's do this way. Throw it in my drawer. Okay. So now that we have our 2 fins, we're going to start working up our body. Again, if you want to refer back to this, by later on this afternoon, I'll have it uploaded to YouTube. You can go back through it. The pattern is available on Ravelry. I don't think I have this one on Etsy. I've had some problems with Etsy lately, so I haven't been putting a lot of my stuff on Etsy. Alright, so my pattern wants me to do the side fins next. So the side fins are super simple. So if that's what I have next, I'm going to do the side fins next, because I probably crochet them right to the body. So I have my bottom 2 fins. And actually, I'll show you how I join the bottom 2 fins first, and then I can work up to that point. If I have to crochet the side fins on, then I'll come back and do the side fins. Maybe not. I don't. Sometimes I confuse myself. I don't usually sit and use a pattern. I usually sit and just, unless it's mine and I want to remake it, then I definitely write my patterns down. Okay, so if I want myself to make myself the side fins first, let's do that. And it's almost the same, they're just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to chain 6 again. Yeah, that's my huffy dog you hear in the background. Second chain, chain 5 up the chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up the chain, 3 single crochet at the top. 2, 3. Single crochet in the last 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's, looks like it's basically just it's the same. It's just less rows. I'm going to cut that tail off that I just crocheted over. And then the next round is I'm going to chain one and turn. So you can see it looks like this. I've skipped the last stitch. And then I'm going to work my way back up. Two, three, four. I actually think I made them a little bit bigger. I'm going to chain my 3 and then single crochet for the top. And I'm going to go down the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to go up to the top one more time for this fin. So just aesthetically, so this point is as big as this point because I have 2 rows here where I stopped and skipped one and then turned and did it. So stop and skip one, and I'm going to turn one and do the rest of the row, but I'm just going to do it to the very center top, and then I'm going to stop. And that way aesthetically it looks even. It doesn't look like one side's a little bit shorter than the other. So that's going to be my side fin, and notes say just slip stitch to the top, so I'm just going to slip stitch to the top. Again, my chain 2 and scrunch my knot down. What am I making? I am making a trinket bag that looks like a fish. So like a little dice bag. It's a drawstring bag with a fish. It would need to be lined because a lot of it's a mesh, but to line something like this would be like super simple. You could just actually take a rectangle and fold it in half. You can gather the bottom of it and pull the bottom shut to make the bottom of the bag, and then just stitch around the top. You really don't have to do anything too extravagant to line these, and they're smaller. These are some of the ones that I had made that I have pictured in my pattern out of different size yarn and different size hooks. You see there are pictures in there that'll detail how you are going to put your fins together. I'm working on the side fins right now. I have my 2 bottom fins done, which are bigger. I'm not weaving in ends while I'm doing this. Nobody wants to sit and watch me weave in ends. And then I'm making my 2 smaller side fins right now. So I have one done. Do the second smaller side fin. And that is just, again, basically a chain stitch. It's basically like an Irish leaf, or one version of an Irish leaf if you were doing like Irish crochet for roses. 4, do my 3, 2, 3, and then I'm going to work down and I do work over top of my thread so I can cut it. I'm going to work down and skip the last stitch. So I've worked down and I'm skipping the last stitch, and that's what gives me that pointed look there. Let me cut. Oh, there went my needle. So then you're just going to chain 1 and turn. So this will give a height of 2 single crochets on this side, and I'm going to go all the way up to the center, and at the center I'm going to do a single crochet, chain 3 and single crochet. For the center, and then I'm going to work my way back down, again skipping the last stitch. And because I have a height of 2 on this side, I am going to chain, and I am just going to work up to the center. That will give me a height of 2 single crochets on this side, so that it looks, so that you have an even dimension and an even looking fin. And then when I get to the top in the center, I'm just going to slip stitch in the center. Again, this is a pattern that I do have on Ravelry. Slip stitch to the center. My infamous chain 2 cotton. I'm not real worried about knots right now, but if you chain 2 after your last stitch, you can actually just take those 2 chains and pull them down and they make a knot. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me repeat myself, but I don't know who heard what. I mean, I know some of them. Like I know Janie. I know a lot of them. Some of them. So now I have my 2 side fins. My 2 side fins. And I have my 2 bottom fins, which you can see are just more rows and bigger. So now what I'm going to work with now to join them is I'm going to work with my two side fins. So your 2 side fins to join them, and I do have pictures of this in the pattern that I have on Ravelry. So you're going to lay them so that I have, where do I have my tails on this? I don't. I woven my ends. Oh no, I didn't. I had my, oh, who knows what the hell I did. This is the first of the body. So I'm going to lay my fins together with the last row at the top. So it's going to be like this. So you're going to lay your fins together. So I have one fin, and I have the next fin. Like, I know what I'm going to do, but I'm trying to read the pattern so I can explain it to you from the pattern. That way, if you ever wanted to go back and read it, you could. So one side, this is the right side of this one, this is the wrong side of this one. So of course this would be the front loops, these would be the back loops, these would be the front loops, and these would front loops, and these would be the back loops. It's going to be a little bit opposite, and that's fine. So you're going to lay your fins together. To begin the first run of the body, you will be working over the last 2 stitches made on each one of these fins. And working through only the loops closest to you. So that would be the front loop, depending on which side you're looking, right? It would be the loop closest to you. Like I said, I just want to make sure I'm reading the pattern and doing the pattern the same way. That way, if you wanted to go back and read it. Okay, so you've got your center together. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your pieces, and I know you can't see them. Give me a second. I'll move my camera so that you can see them. So you're going to take your pieces, laying your fins together like this. And I'm going to take my yarn once again, and I'm going to be working 4 stitches at a time. So I'm going to take 2 stitches from here and 2 stitches from here. And again, you're only going to work in the front loops only, or the loops closest to you. So this one I would do 1, and I would do 2. So I did my 2 stitches on that one. I did my 2 stitches on that one. And then I'm going to put this right next to it. I'm going to put this right next to it and grabbing the 2 stitches, the front, the closest loops to me. And I'm going to pick up, this is from the chain loop at the top. And I'm going to pick up and do 1, 2 from that one. So now I have 2 stitches on this fin, 2 stitches on this fin. I'm not going to chain anything. I am simply going to turn my work around. So now this is going to be facing me, and the loops that you skipped, the back loops that you skipped, you're going to work 2 single crochets and 2 single crochets in those same stitches in the back loops, and it's going to give you a round of 8. So you have 4 stitches there, 4 stitches there, and you're going to turn it over so that you can work in the same stitch but in the loop closest to you now that you turned it. So that's 1, 2, whoops, and then my 3, 4. You can actually just, you kind of have to work in the loops. If you don't work in the loops, you won't be able to go all the way around if you just work in the chain spaces. So 1, 2. So now that you can see, I worked 4 stitches in the front loop, and I turned, and then I worked 4 stitches in the back loop, and that gives me like the beginning of the bag part. Does that make sense to everybody? And it's and it's crocheted right to the end of the tail fin, so the tail fins will flop. So I'm going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches and increase in the next stitch. It can't be right. You should have a round of 8. A round of 8, and after that round of 8, I'm going to 2 single crochet in each one around and make it 16. So I'm just going to go right around, and I am going to crochet over that tail so I don't have to look at it. But I'm not going to join my stitches. I'm not going to join my stitches. I'm just going to turn it and keep going around in a circle. But I am going to mark my stitches because I'm going to make sure I have it. So that's 2, 2 in each stitch, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's the first side. I'm going to keep going around. 9, 10, 11, 12. Keep going around. 13, 14. Last stitch, 15, 16. One of the reasons why I picked this pattern, and you can see the tail fins just hang right from it. One of the reasons I picked this pattern was because part of the body is mesh, and when I was doing some of the other, one of the other projects, the granny squares, to join my granny square, I like to join my granny squares in the corners. And if I'm still going to continue around with them, I will actually, instead of chain 1 and joining it, I will actually single crochet to that stitch and then chain 2, and that gives me the height. It gives me space to do the first half of my granny corner and then work around, and I still have space on the other side to do the second half of the granny. Oh, thank you. The second half of the last granny corner on that side. And when you're working in the mesh, because this bag is, because it is a mesh bag, you can't see it well on that one. It is a mesh bag. I do joins like that. So if I have more than just a single crochet or something, I like to end my loop from my mesh on the top of my loop all the time. So I would typically, if I have a chain loop of 5, I would single crochet 2 and half double crochet, and that would bring my stitch at the very top, and I'll show you all that. So the next round here, I'm going to, that's not it, that's it, these over here. Again, you're working in spirals so far, and it does say that in the pattern, you're working in spirals, so I always mark my first stitch so that I don't lose track of where my first stitch is, because I do tend to do that. Somebody will, walk around, the dog will look for something, or I have to grab a sip of my coffee or something, and I'll lose track of it, so I always mark my first stitch. That way I can go back and count them. Okay, so for the next one, I'm going to continue without joining. I am going to make my first stitch, and I'm going to put my stitch marker back in my first stitch so that I can count and know my rounds. I'm going to single crochet 3, so that was 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to increase. And since this is something that you'll probably see both sides of, I will just do a regular increase. And then again, 3, 2, 3, and increase. This color is much better to see on here, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, an increase. I have 4 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, an increase. I don't have to count them, because if my count turned out right that way, then I know it's right. So you can see now you have the bottom of your fins, and you have your beginning of your bag. If you don't like the way your fins are joined, you can always join them closer together, or what I will typically do is you can just weave a piece through there and tie a knot and stitch it together if you wanted to do that. But you can see how you have the 2 fins at the bottom, and they are attached, secured, sewn, crocheted right onto what's the beginning of our bag. So now the next one. This one I am going to join with a slip stitch, because I'm going to start a different stitch. So I'm going to join with a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet in the same stitch, and I am going to mark it, because sometimes, even though because you've chained 1, it almost looks like you have 2 stitches there, but this is actually the last stitch, and this is the first stitch, and this is the chain 1 that gave you the height. I always mark my first stitch, because if you single crochet into that stitch there, that's the building stitch for the height, the chain 1, your counts will end up off. So chain 1, let's see. So I'm going to chain 3. We're starting our mesh. I'm going to skip 1 single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet into the next one. And then I'm going to chain 3, skip 1 single crochet, and crochet into the next one. 3, skip 1, go into the next one. This builds the body for the bag. 3, skip 1, and the next one. Chain 3, skip 1, single crochet into the next one. Chain 3, skip 1, single crochet into the next one. Chain 3, skip 1, single crochet into the next one. Skip 1, single crochet into the next one. Let me see how many loops I should have here. I should have 10 chain 3 loops. So let me count so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one makes 9. That one makes 9 total. So now to finish off so that I get my stitch in the top of the chain loop, because this is my last stitch here, and it's only 3 stitches, I'm going to chain 1, and where I have my stitch marker, I'm going to half double crochet. So you can see I did the chain 1 and half double crochet, and now it puts my stitch at the top of the loop. So I'm going to mark that half double crochet as the beginning of my round. So I'm going to mark that half double crochet that I just did as the beginning of my round. So the next one around, I'm going to do chain 4s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see when I move my hand, your chain actually looks like it's coming right out of the middle of the loop. So you're starting right on the loop, so you eliminate the need to slip stitch up to the next middle of the next loop. You're just starting right from the middle of the loop. So these are all going to be chain 4s around, all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is like a super fast project. Like I can make a bunch of these. I do in fact have a bunch of them made in a bin that I just need to line. 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you recall, that was the top of the loop. That was the top of the loop, and we want to connect this to the top of the loop with our chain coming out of the middle. So for that one, I'm going to chain 1, and you can make that chain a little bit tighter if you want. And I'm going to double crochet in that half double crochet. I can get my stitch in there. So I mean, I crochet pretty tight. So I'm going to, after I chain 1, this is my chain 1, and this is my double crochet. It puts me at the top of the loop. I'm going to mark that double crochet because that's the top of my first loop. So now if you count around, just like when you do your spirals, when you're working your amigurumi, your stitches kind of shift. The top of this, as you can see, this was the top here, this is the top here, the next top of the next loop is going to be here. It will kind of shift, but you will still always get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can't see where I'm counting, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You will always still have 10 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you always, just want to double check that. You will always still, even though you ended up in the top of the loop, you will always still end up with 10. So that was round 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are going to be the same. So I can actually just sit here and chatter away. How's everybody doing this morning? So you can see when I do it now, it looks like it came from the top of the loop to the top of the loop. This was our double crochet right here. This was our double crochet right there. Top of the loop to the top of the loop. Good morning. I am making, if you're just joining me, trinket bags on the first page that are shaped like fishes. There's a bunch of them I done in different colors depending on the thickness of your yarn. The one in the center I did, it was like this super bulky recycled silk. And yeah, they're still sitting in a bin out there waiting to be lined. But I did get a new sewing machine this winter because I did decide that I was going to pull out some bags and start lining them. And my old one broke. Years and years and years of just doodling. Like literally. Just like you would sit there with a scratch pad and a pencil and just kind of draw doodles to see, you know, where your spirals go or wherever. I just pick up a hook and I would sit there and I would just take days where I would just play to see how the stitches went together. And just play just to see how I could do it. And then there are some things like I would look at patterns and I would go, well, I really like that pattern. How'd they do that? And sometimes I would buy the pattern, and sometimes just buying a pattern just to learn a technique that's in it is worth it for me. So sometimes I don't necessarily want the pattern. I just want to learn the technique that they did within the pattern so that I can incorporate it into other things. Yeah, I'm a little bit crazy. I like to sit and do it. I've been doing it for a long time, and I like to do it. I like to see what I can make from it. This was round 5, and I'll show you real quick. I am back to that beginning double crochet here, and this is going to be my last loop, and I want it to come at the top. So I'm going to chain 1, and then this is my double crochet. Sorry, I'm going to double crochet into that double crochet into the double crochet, and it puts me back at the top of the loop, and you can see how it shifts, but you still have the same number of loops. And that's, you know, mark your stitch, because I've already done that. I've already got to the end and went, what the hell? I have like extra loops there that I don't need. I'll just do a couple more rounds of this. I think there is only a couple more rounds of this, and then I'll show you how we draw it together, because right now it looks like this big loopy flower, and it's not. When we finish at the top, it's actually going to pull it all together so that it ends up a bag. This is one of my smaller ones. I actually like these. And again, you could just do like a rectangle gathered at the bottom, back to the beginning again. So I'm going to chain my 1. And it puts me at the top of the loop again. And I'm going to mark that one. I think I have 2 more rounds of these. But yeah, if you just took like your fabric and folded it in half and stitched one seam, if you just gathered it at the bottom, so it looks like just like a bag gathered at the bottom, you could just slip that in here and then stitch around underneath where the drawstrings go. You don't have to really do anything elaborate to line these. Or you could squash it in half and just trace the shape of the fish. Just squash it in half and trace the shape of the bag and just stick it in there and line it. And let's see where I'm at here. Last loop. I'm going to chain one, double crochet in the double crochet, puts me at the top of that loop, and I'll just mark that double crochet again. I think I really have, let me see, just one, so that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll do 1 or 2 more rounds of this. What do you guys think? And then I'll do the head. I'll show you how to draw together the head. These are just chain 4, single crochet, mesh. When I'm done here, I will actually go into my YouTube. When TikTok's done processing this video, I'll upload it to YouTube. If I don't get this project done today, that will be tomorrow's project. I try to come on every day around 9:45 or so, and at least finish and go through one project before I start a next project. That came together awful fast. Yeah, you know what? It is a really fast pattern. It's a really fast pattern. So there's my double crochet from the last one right here. And I'm going to do my chain 1 and double crochet to bring me at the top of my loop. Mark it. And I think I'm just going to start the head at this point. So I have to stretch. Hear all my bones pop. But I at least want to get through how you start the head. So to start the head, okay, so I'm going to chain 1. Yeah, I do have to read my own patterns. And single crochet in that same loop. So all I did was I chained 1 and I single crocheted in the same loop that I was at the top of. And I marked as my first stitch. So now I'm going to chain 3 instead of 4 and single crochet in the next loop. 3 and single crochet in the next loop. 3 single crochet in the next loop. 3 single crochet in the next loop. All the way around. I like to have small, quick stuff like this on my table when I do my market with my dad in the late summer, because a lot of people look at my bigger items and aren't real happy with the prices. So I'm almost done with the fish purse I did this weekend. Was that my fish purse that you did this weekend? I'm just curious. That was Misty. I'm just curious. Was that my... Yes? It's a little finicky. You can see one of my TikTok said, do you really need all these? And when I'm doing the cowl at the very, not the cowl, but the very top of the head where the chevrons are, the counts work out. But I actually will put a stitch marker at the top of each chevron and at the bottom of each chevron. So I have like, I think like 18 or so bobby pins in there. So I'm making sure I'm hitting the top of the chevron, because if not, my brain just goes and I just kind of, go, oh wait, now where's my count? This pattern can't possibly be right. I mean, I look at it, I've done it so many times. I know it's right because I've done it that many times. But again, if I don't keep my stitch markers in there and keep my stitch counts, I can guarantee you I'm screwing up those chevrons around the bottom of the neckline. Yeah, that's same here. I must have made at least 50 of those bags because they sell. At least 50 of those bags. Every time I make one of those bags, I have to sit there and meticulously read through that pattern, and I have to sit there and meticulously put all my stitch markers in. And inevitably, once I do that, the count comes out right. I just, for some reason, it's, yeah. Yeah. It does come out right, but it is finicky, and you do have to, that's how I do my chevrons on the bottom of that fish bag, is when I know I'm at the top of the chevron, I loop my stitch marker, stick my bobby pin in there. That's why I use bobby pins, because I use so many. But I stick my bobby pin in the stitch that's the top of the chevron. I stitch my bobby pin in the stitch that's the bottom of the chevron, and every time I'm up there and down there, I just move the stitch to that pertaining stitch. And I do it every time I make one of those bags. Yeah, I do that every single time I make one of those bags, because I learned after the first couple ones, this light is driving me nuts. I learned after the first couple ones that no matter how much I think I'm paying attention, I'm going to like screw up those chevrons if I don't have them marked. And it's my pattern. That's what makes me crazy. Okay, so I did my chain threes and I got all the way around. I am going to chain one and single crochet. So we've done chain fours up to this point and single crocheted. So now we've done, this top loop here is three chains and single crochets. So this one is going to be a chain one and single crochet to that first single crochet. I got that right? Oh no, that's the top of the bag. So I'm going to chain 3, 2, 3, and I'm actually going to slip stitch into that single crochet. So there is. Send me a DM. It's this one. It's, I know my printer was dying. Catch of the day Trinket bag. Send me a DM. I'll see if I can get it to you somehow. Because right now it's on Ravelry. So after I've done this, and you can see, I still have to cut my ends off, but you can now see that kind of brought the bag back together, so it's the top of the bag and the two tails are at the bottom, and you can see it's not as big as the other one. The fish to do, yeah, the fish is, I like the fish, and I like the little fish. Typically it only takes me, I don't know, half an hour or so. Okay, I appreciate that, thanks. It doesn't take me long to make one of these, so to like sell it for like $5 or $10, I'm okay with that, because a lot of people will come. A lot of kids come because it's actually a lake festival, so a lot of kids come, a lot of campers come, and I do get people that buy my bigger, nicer stuff, but a lot of the people that come by just want like trinket stuff, little stuff. They don't necessarily want to buy the bigger, nicer stuff. Although the skulls, like I made the skull bags, I will probably sell one. And I sell them for, I don't know if I had them marked at 130, 135, but oh, Misty, you're probably not that far from me then. Because you can go to the link in my bio there, and I have my PO box. You're not that far from me. Are you in PA or are you in Ohio? That's one of the reasons why I did the fish, actually. Because I live on a lake south of Lake Erie. Not like on it, but I'm like a quarter of a mile away from it. But, okay, so I'm going to chain one. Then I'm going to single crochet in that first. Poor Clinton. Okay. I'm done on Pima tuning. 2, 3. I just want to make sure. So I'm just going to do 3 single crochets in each chain loop around. So I'm going to skip the single crochets in the middle, and I'm just going to do 3 single crochets in each one around. So 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they have a lake fest down here for us every year, and my dad does watercolors and has tons and tons of them unframed, just in stacks, giant, like 22 by 17, whatever. So my mother talked. They live in the city. They live in a city, a couple hours away, and I moved up here because this is where we always vacationed, and it's where I always wanted to be. So that's what I did. But she still has her summertime property. It's actually right across the street from me now. So they come up probably a few times a month. And then in August, when they do the Lake Fest, my dad and I get a booth next to each other. So he puts all of his paintings out, and just people can flip through them and look. And I have my booth next to him so I can help them. And it's 2 days. We make okay money. I mean, it's not a ton of money, but given the area, I'm not going to make a ton of money. If I went to a bigger city, I would probably get more sales than I get up here, which is one of the reasons why I started putting all my stuff online, because that way I can use the I use Square, the Square readers. Square has a website that is just, oh my god, it's so simple to set up, and once you have your inventory, you pretty much click and it just puts everything there. It's really, really easy. But that is the first round of the head. You can see we have the mesh, and we pulled it together. These, you can always steam them, and they'll uncurl. But so far, that's our fish bag. And let's see. This says I'm going to single crochet in the back loops only. And it should be 40 stitches. So let's see. I'm going to mark that one as my first one. And the reason I do back loops and front loops a lot is because it adds dimension and it adds texture. So you can see, whereas this is just a regular single crochet. Yeah, it is. We enjoy ourselves. And you know, my husband will come down and he'll sit there for a while and relieve me. My kids like to walk around, and you know, it's nice to see. Even though half the people, like the campers and things, come up just seasonal, you get to know people because they come back. So it is nice. And my dad has quite the following. So we get the same spots every year. And people will contact me ahead of time and ask me if my dad's going to be there this year. Like, not me. Is your dad going to be there? Yes, my dad will be there. God willing. So you see, you'll see a lot better when I do the second one. But when you work like the back loops and you just work through certain loops, just like when you made the granny square motifs pop, you work through a certain loop, you can maneuver those stitches. I love the word maneuver, by the way, whoever threw that to me last week. You can maneuver the way you stitch so that you get a little bit more texture. So I like the texture around the collar of the fish, around the base of the head. So that's why I work in the back loops only. So when I do the second round, you'll see that you have like this row, running row, and then you'll have this running row. So that's one way to add some texture and some dimension to your work, is by working through front and back loops. So I'm going to finish this round and start the next round, and I'll show you that. Basically, the rest of the fish head is just going to be working around in circles like this with just single crochets until you get to the eyelet round. And the eyelet round, I don't know if I did on this, I would have to look, double crochet or half double crochet, but you can see the popping out. I don't know if I did double crochet or half double crochet, but it's basically like double crochet, skip a stitch, chain a stitch to make your eyelets, to put your drawstrings through. In these little ones, I usually just use some elastic cording and a cord stop. Like it came together, like the bag of cord stops came with the elastic cording. But I'll just show you here real quick. When you do your back loops only, this is my second row of back loops only. You guys are so kind. Thank you for all the likes. Great job. I've gone live for 90 minutes. Yeah, well, you know what? I could sit here and like do this all day. So now that you see working my second round of back loops, you see how it kind of adds those ridges. And that's kind of the, I don't have a real, I do have a closer picture, but it's not that great because like I said, I was running out of ink, but you can see how it kind of like adds like, kind of like adds the ridging at the bottom of the cow. And you can use googly eyes, or you can use safety eyes, or you can embroider eyes on, or whatever. But the, I think I got these. They're in here somewhere with all my stuff. So it came with, I think it was like $10 or $15. It came with all this elastic cording. I know it's loud, I'm sorry. It came with all this elastic cording in those different colors, and then it came with all the cord loops, cord locks. You can see. So you just slide your cord in there and locks them. And that's what I use for the little ones. For the big ones, when I line them, sorry about the noise. The big ones after I've lined them, and when I line them, I don't know if Misty's still around. When you make your drawstring, you can either, when I first started making them, I made the drawstring big enough that you could actually loop the drawstring around. And then this last batch I made for this year, I actually bought cotton twill strapping and hardware so that you can pull it shut and you have an adjustable strap over your shoulder, because a lot of people asked me for that. So that's what I did for this year's batch of fish bags. And those are the bigger ones. Like I said, these I just use elastic cording and the cord stops. But I think I am going to end it there. I will come back tomorrow and finish this, I promise. And that's our trinket bag, fish bag. That's what he looks like. And that'll be tomorrow's. It's just a drawstring little trinket bag that looks like a fish. Thank you everybody for joining me. Thank you for all the likes. I am usually on, I will give you the speech, I am usually on Monday through Friday. Today I will not be here on Wednesday. Next week I will not be here on Tuesday. When I'm done with all these lives and any tutorials I've done, any questions I've answered, anything that I've gone over, I upload them to YouTube. You can find it. Nifty Knots is my channel. Nifty Knots Talk is the playlist with all of my video tutorials like this, like my lives. I take all my TikTok lives and I upload them, and that's what that is. So if you go to YouTube, just hit subscribe. I would appreciate it. Hello. Oh, you're joining me a little bit late. I was just about to sign off, but I was just going to say, if you want to watch the old lives, you can go over to YouTube, Nifty Knots, Knotz, one word, Nifty Knots. You're sewing went well. I made a pillow. I'll tell you what, I've really enjoyed sewing this year. This is the first year that I've really enjoyed it. Sewing to me has been a bane. And this year I picked it up and decided that I really wanted to do more of it. It was something else that I learned when I was a kid, how to sew. And I made pyramid bags. They are actually like pyramids. You can hang off their backpacks. I made like little wallets. I made marble mazes. The marble mazes, I want to give credits where credit's due. I know I have that written in here somewhere. It's, I do believe, oh, here it is. That's backwards. That should be right there. Lila Tulip, she does the marble mazes, and I really like them, so I made some of those for my markets. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, if you want to rewatch any of my TikTok lives, go on, head over to YouTube, hit a like and subscribe. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing here, although I haven't done these yet, for my TikTok, my regular TikTok videos, a lot of them are products that I made myself, that I have just videos of. My website, there are free patterns for a couple of puppets and a basic amigurumi doll. If you go to my bio and my link tree, there's links to all that, and I appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. Thank you.